just having the pitchers and the hitters feel that line outside?
I haven't had a whole lot yet.
Just excited to get going. I think we have a chance to have an excellent team and a lot of new faces on the mound, and that's going to probably be the biggest question early is how we organize that and how we manage the bullpen, and especially after losing a back-end closer like Dylan Nedved, who was just nails for 3 years for us. And but I feel like we got talented guys in those spots, and really not a whole lot different other than the back-end closer with the rest of the guys from last year. You know, we got hit pretty hard in the draft. The year Trent Wallace was the MVP, and then last year, boom, we bounced back, filled all those spots, and was arguably the best year pitching staff, complete staff-wise, history of Iowa baseball, and really got hammered this year with the draft. And again, I think we've got a lot of talented guys, but just really lack experience other than having Ty Langenberg, who had a great year as a Sunday guy last year, and then bumping up to the Friday starter. And then you look at good example of a guy, Ben Butel last year, had a pretty rough year the year prior, and then went out and just had a phenomenal season in his senior season. And we've got 3 or 4 guys on this staff that I think have the ability to really bounce up and have a breakout year this year. So offensively, defensively, really like the potential and what we could be, and anxious to get going.
Marcus was saying that this is the closest team he's ever been on, high school, college. You sense that too with this team? He said there's just a great connection.
Yeah, I definitely do, and it came early, which doesn't always happen. It usually takes a little while before that trust is built, and the guys are really gelling together, and the chemistry takes off. Now we pride ourselves, as you guys know, on having a great culture and good leadership on the team, and our captains have done an awesome job of helping establish that, and this group has been fantastic. This group, I would have told you after fall ball, probably came together as a crew, faster than any we'd had in a long time. And I tell people also that it's easy now because nobody's sitting on the bench, and nobody isn't in the role they would have liked. But I don't foresee an issue with this team, at least right now, because they are, as Marcus said, a really tight-knit crew, and they do the right things. We've had an awesome year off the field, which gets skipped a lot of times, and in the classroom they did an awesome job. Community service, they did an awesome job. Nobody's been in trouble. And just a really good bunch of guys that are playing for the right reasons right now.
Friday night spot is the standard has been set pretty high these last few years. The major all guy or but just what makes Ty ready to meet that standard?
If you look at Ty's progress, one, he's had a chance to watch those guys and see how it was done, and he is really no different than those guys in the fact that he came in, pitched some, as a freshman, worked his way into the starting rotation, did an awesome job last year, and is now ready to go as our Friday night starter. The reason it's Ty is because he works every day to improve. I mean, a lot of guys work really hard, but Ty works with a purpose. He works with a focus that's different than a lot of guys. He had a good year. He didn't set on it. He went out to the Cape, challenged himself, had a good summer in the Cape, came back, has worked really hard on developing his pitches even better, trying to figure out what his absolute best arsenal is. And he's just a hard-working guy. And then the thing that I like is when I saw him pitch, I believe it was his sophomore year, probably not ready for this yet, but he was thrown in the fire and had to pitch a state championship game down at Principal Park in Des Moines. He's pitched in some big games before. He's been on state championship teams. He's a winner. And all of those are the reasons why I feel really good about Ty being our Friday guy.
Rick Keaton could have left a number of options. What did you say about this program that he stayed here?
Well, I think it says a lot in that, number one, Keaton was looking at the bigger picture when sometimes guys don't. He had the double draft year, being a draft eligible sophomore. And I guess that would be kind of the golden ticket if you were a player, because you've got 2 leverage years. And the thing that made me the most happy was, one, the program's strong and he feels like he's going to improve or he wouldn't have came back. And so that makes you feel great. The other thing is his maturity, in that if he didn't get the money that he wanted, he knew he could come back and bet on himself and hopefully get that next year, having the 2 opportunities in the draft with some leverage. And then also he didn't pitch a whole lot last year, and then having the ability to come back this year, show the scouts that he's also a frontline pitcher, just helps his chances once he gets to pro ball, in case something goes haywire with the hitting or something like that. He can always have a second shot on the mound possibly, and I think that's a cool thing too. So yeah, I just really pumped that he's back, and that he trusted the staff, the program, to help put him in a place where he could be in a really good spot this year.
I figure some other colleges probably would have loved to have had him too.
Yeah, and that's a good thing in today's world too, is that he's still here.
What makes him ready to handle the two-way responsibility?
Well, one, he kind of got a trial run last year, even though you didn't see him out there a lot on the mound. He was always throwing his pins, and he was throwing, if he wasn't in a game, he was throwing the scrimmage that week. To me, it's his makeup, and just the thing about Keaton is he's very confident, believes in himself. He doesn't let things affect him when they go bad. He's quick to file it, and watching him pitch, the thing I like about him on this staff is that we have some really good arms, some guys that can really run it up there, 90, 94 plus, and Keaton is not a soft thrower by any stretch. I mean, he'll run it up 90, 92. But that's not what his game is or what he relies on. He's got a lot of movement to his fastball. He can throw 4 pitches for strikes pretty much, when he wants them. And he's just a lot different look on a weekend when you're just seeing hard guys. Sometimes that can be detrimental to the guys at the back end of that if they're all similar. Whereas Keaton will throw a completely different look at guys after the hard throwing guys that we have. So. Yeah, it's just his makeup is that of he's got a Friday night makeup too, mentality-wise.
And with Brody, having a year under his belt, Brody Breck, what do you think that's done for him?
Well, he's been dinged up so much. He didn't get a chance to pitch all summer, and that was obviously the hope, that he could go out and work through some things and be able to get at least 6-7 starts in the summer, and then he got injured fairly early in June, and so I was kind of wondering what we would see, because it was the same story with football this year. We really didn't see him, and then you guys all know from covering the football team, he was dinged up a lot. The thing that I have seen though that was on a positive side, really super positive, is a guy that is in way more control of himself. I think last year not being able to play football, and then boom, he's finally getting on the field in baseball. I think that he felt like he really needed to be better than what he needed to be. He made it a big deal, I think, and he'd tell you that, I'm pretty sure. Whereas now, after getting his feet wet, going through a season, I think he's way more mature. He's way more composed, and that's what I've seen in his bullpens, in his live sets so far this year. And I think he's in a really good place considering all that he's went through with the injuries, and he's still working on getting what he would probably call 100%. But he's in a pretty good place right now, and it just seems to be improving each week. He'll have another live start on Saturday, and then boom, we get started. But I'm really excited for what this season holds for Brody.
Marcus Morgan was saying he's in a much better place mentally right now after kind of what he learned last year.
Yeah, I would say Marcus falls right in the same boat with Brody on that too. There's a lot of pressure on Marcus, and maybe didn't handle it as well as he would have liked. He went out and toughed it out all summer, pitched through some things, came back, had a pretty good fall. We feel like we've found some things to really help Marcus with his pitch selection and some some things that he does to try to give him a better shot, and it seemed to really work. He and Coach McGrath, I think, have bonded quickly, and it's been really good for Marcus right now. And I think, like you said, Marcus is in a really solid place. Feel really good about where he's at. He's turned the corner. He's working hard, and attitude's good. And watching him pitch on Sunday, I felt like I was the most confident I've seen him since he's been here, and just feel really optimistic for the year he can have.
You were mentioning with Brody's injury over the summer and then not having him during fall. Does that change kind of your approach with him during the season?
Well, it just doesn't give you much chance to really make any changes. You know, it's kind of, I mean, you're trying to, but it's really difficult to do any kind of wholesale changes when you're trying to compete and win a game. And you know, that's the downside of on the baseball, from the baseball point of view, that's the downside of the football, is that he's not with us all fall and winter, you know, working on things that, you know, could help him be a better pitcher. The great thing about Brody is, even though he's now with us, he's constantly doing things. He's coming in the office. He's really been a sponge that way. He's worked hard on his own on you know, holding runners and fielding his position and doing things like that that you don't really think about until you get out there, and it's like, whoa, you know, the game's going fast. I got runners on base. It's the ninth inning, and you know, here we are in a one-run game. You know, he's been through that now, and I think he's going to handle all of that a lot better.
You were mentioning.
I'm doing video, so I'm going to ask you some questions about the upcoming season. For starters, I guess, how's the off-season been for you guys?
It's been really good. I think we have a really good ball club here. High expectations this year, obviously, all the way to Omaha. But I mean, I think we're going to hit really well. I think we have really good arms, all the way up and down. So I'm really excited.
You said the high expectations. I mean, what are the expectations for this team? You said Omaha. Is that?
I mean, obviously win a Big Ten championship. Obviously win the Big Ten tournament. Win a regional, host, win a super regional, and then I mean, obviously win the College World Series. So big expectations.
You're making the jump from, you know, hitting last year to hitting and pitching this year. How does you know, maybe your routine or your mindset change now that you're taking on, you know, kind of two roles?
Yeah, I mean, it changes a decent amount. I mean, I'm doing only pitch and throwing. Now doing many throws in the field. I've obviously moved to first base for the most part, and I mean, I'm not doing a lot of heavy throws there. Just kind of throwing my bullpens, doing my live sets, trying to take care of my arm as much as I can. But I mean, I'm ready for it. I did it in high school, so I'm excited to kind of see what happens this year with it all.
I talked to Rick this morning, and he said the guy from LSU, Skinas, is deciding to go to just pitching only. Why is this something that you want to do both rather than, you know, focus on one?
You know, I mean, I've been doing it since high school, obviously, and like I said, I mean, I feel like I can do it at this level. I'm confident in my abilities to do it at this level, and I want to help the team any way I can, and I feel confident if I'm on the mound to help us, and obviously in the box. So just whatever I can do to help us win games.
What do you anticipate?
Just kind of my recovery days and time periods. Obviously, start whenever my outings are, I feel like I'm going to be a little bit more sore the day after. So if I throw on a Friday out of the pen, then I would expect to be a little sore on Saturday and have to do a lot of recovery stuff before that game to hit. So I think just kind of making sure I'm taking care of my body this year in a really good way, doing all the recovery I can to make sure I'm feeling good for all the days after the outings or even leading up to when I do throw.
After what you accomplished last year, do you expect to be pitched to differently this year?
I haven't really thought about it that much. I don't really want to change my game plan in the box, my approach. Obviously, I'm sure guys have all these reports on me and scouting reports, but that's not going to change who I am. I'm just going to continue to be who I am and just take my approach in the box day in and day out.
You're obviously draft eligible now this year. Did that didn't play any part in your decision to play both ways? I mean, did you think about just hitting because of that?
I mean, it hasn't really been a big deciding factor for me. Like I said, I just want to help the team. Not too worried about how my pitching is going to be with my draft stock and everything, and hitting and everything. I mean, obviously, I'm just here. I want to help the team win, and that's my main goal and focus this year.
You went through the draft process last year, decided to come back for another year. Obviously, I don't know how that all panned out, but if you didn't hear, you know, what you wanted to hear from teams going through that, is that something that, you know, gives you a little bit of a chip on the shoulder this year to, you know, you want to prove something?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I had a lot of guys that were telling me, they were like, look, we're not going to go higher than this set amount, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to go back to school, and obviously, like, like I said, growing up, I mean, I've always kind of bet on myself, always throughout high school, and I mean, even here, my first few years coming all the way up here and stuff. So, I mean, it's just something that, I mean, obviously I have a chip on my shoulder. Don't think I've proved enough. Think I have a lot more to prove. So, just kind of, like I said, taking it day in and day out and not trying to put too much pressure on myself this year.
Did you get any thoughts of going SEC, going back home? Or anybody unofficially reach out to you?
There weren't many things under the table that happened, but there was definitely some people back home that were like, "So are you gonna leave?" And I mean, this place is home for me. I love it here. Would never want to restart anywhere else. So comfortable here, comfortable with all the coaches, all my teammates. So, I mean, it was never through my mind that I wanted to leave and go anywhere else.
So Zach, tell me about the offseason. What have you been working on? What has the team kind of really been focused on here?
I mean, just kind of getting stuff ready to start the season. As far as myself, kind of just focusing on my pitches, executing 4 pitches for strikes, and yeah, we've been focusing on the little things to get ready. So yeah, I feel like we're in a good spot to start the season.
Is there anything particularly focused on? Anything new to your repertoire, or just working on mechanics? Anything along there?
Yeah, in the fall I added a new slider. It's more of a sweeping slider to go with my cutter. So been working on that mostly, but yeah.
I think I read something the other day. Baseball America, you guys mentioned like 3rd in the Big Ten, making it into the tournament. Just talk about the expectations for this squad. How far do you think you make it?
We have pretty high expectations because we have a pretty good squad this year. So I mean, finishing higher, the top 3 in the Big Ten, hopefully first is the goal. So that's the expectation.
What's it gonna take from this team to make those expectations a reality?
Everyone kind of stepping into their role and giving the most they can from that, whatever that is for everyone, and making the most of every day, taking it one pitch at a time.
I think it's no different than what I did last year, and obviously I'm a little bit more confident this year with that experience. But yeah.
What have you worked on over the off season? To take the next step as a pitcher.
With the bullpen sessions, it was really focusing on the cutter. It was a pitch that we thought there was a lot more potential to, and it's something that we could definitely use to help me pursue left-handed batters mostly. So that was really the main focus. Obviously, command issues a little bit with the slider. We want to hone that in a little bit more. So the slider cutter were the main 2 pieces we focused on as far with the off-season stuff this winter and whatnot. But other than that, it was pretty straightforward. Just continue to kind of pound the zone.
What's it been like working with Coach McGrath since he's arrived?
It's been nothing but good stuff. I think it was a seamless transition from Robin to him this fall, especially. There was a week where there was a little bit of an overlap, and they were both kind of able to be here at the same time. I was able to learn more about Sean while having the comfort of Robin there with us. So after the transition happened, realistically it was he settled in very quickly. It took a couple of weeks to kind of take a step back, evaluate all of us. But once he kind of opened his mouth and started to give some advice, it was very sound advice, and he's been a great coach and friend so far.
Is it good to have a different opinion, different set of eyes on you? I think. Is it good to have a different opinion from a different coach? I mean, it's good to hear different voices.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, Robin was a very technical guy, and I think people would say he was very, specialized in that area of kind of biomechanics, things like that. Versus Sean is, coming from the Mariners, who are, their main focus is really the mental game. So it's really cool to kind of do 2 different things. And obviously, the different opinions was great to hear as well, but really just both brought 2 different sides of the sport to me, so that was great.
You've been on the team the last 2 years with Trenton Walton and Major, both winning Big Ten Pitcher of the Year. What have you kind of learned from them, watching them over the last 2 years, so that you can kind of take forward as you become the new Friday starter?
Really, being able to learn from them was the biggest for me. Just learning kind of how to carry yourself, control the good and the bad, being able to balance it out. Just the little things that I take away from those guys. Obviously, I know that I'm not them. I'm a lot different pitcher than they were, so I'm not going to change, how I go about my business on the mound. I'll keep that the same, but kind of, how I compose myself out there, on and off the field is, a lot of big strides. I think a lot of big lessons were learned from them. So.
What did the Cape?
The Cape was just a very big, learning experience. It was great to go out there and learn from a lot of, experienced guys. Obviously a very, very high level out there. So it was really cool to get to compete against, such great competition and just learn from them out there and just kind of be able to refine my own skills against, the good competition.
Are there any freshmen on the roster that stick out to you that you think can have an immediate impact this season?
Obviously, speaking from a pitcher's perspective, I think, Cade Overmiller is, a standout guy. He's got a lot of potential. Coming from the left side, it would be could be a big piece of our bullpen, just having another left-hander in there. And I think that he's somebody that could really make a big impact on the back end of things, just kind of add a different look from our bullpen. So I think he's somebody that could really help us. The pitcher side, and obviously Aaron Syvery is another guy that will continue to pound the zone. I know that we're gonna get a very competitive guy out of him. As far as the hitters, I've seen a couple things. I'm very excited to see what they can do. Behind me out there on the field, as well as in the batter's box. But it's something that I'm not going to speak too much on that.
Yeah, and you guys missed out on regionals last year. Do you guys have like a chip on your shoulder? What are the team goals this season?
I think the team goals are the same. I don't think they've changed. Obviously, we did feel like we got snubbed a little bit last year, but realistically, our goals are the same as they were last year. We're going to continue to fight and compete, and obviously, I think there's a lot of importance that comes with these early games this season, and but it's our goals aren't going to change. We're going to go out there, compete, take it one game at a time, and that the results will show in the end.
Cool. Thank you.
But yeah, I think it's helping that that's how ready to get ready for the gotten the word
The team is mental too. I mean, in high school, you were always one of the best athletes, but there's a lot more to it at this level.
Absolutely. I mean, you used to just go out there and be able to throw it and do whatever, but the game of baseball is a lot more mental, honestly, than it is physical. Like I said, I learned a lot. Started getting into the mental game stuff and working on those things. Made an emphasis during the off season to work on stuff like that. And I'm in a much better place, and I'm excited to go.
What's it been like under the new pitching coach? How's that transition gone?
Very smooth. I think we meshed very well. He's a great guy. I think he's a great fit for the program, and it's going to be a fun year with him.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate
No
it.
problem.
How's the off-season been for you? Was there anything you kind of focused on in particular, or just kind of a little bit of everything in general?
It's just a piggyback off of what I was saying to him. A big emphasis of the offseason was the mental side of the game. Learned a lot of different things, worked with the sports psych and everything. Learned a lot of different techniques and whatnot, made that emphasis, and just getting healthy and getting ready to go.
What has you excited about this season and this squad?
A lot of charisma on our team. I think we're just a really gritty group of a lot of really hard competitors, a lot of guys that love to compete on this team, and we mesh, better than any team I've been a part of. Honestly, this year we have a great group of guys, and I think we're ready to go.